The letter arrived in a crisp, white envelope, my name scrawled in my sister's elegant handwriting, but its contents burned like acid on my heart. "You're not welcome at my wedding, Lila." It read, each word a dagger. I sat frozen on my apartment floor, the invitation I'd never received clutched in my trembling hands, wondering how family could wound so deeply. My name is Lila Carter, and at 30, I thought I'd buried the pain of my siblings' cruelty years ago. Growing up, I was the youngest of four, three older siblings, Ethan, Mia, and Lucas, who seemed to share a secret club I was never invited to join. They mocked my dreams, my awkward braces, my quiet nature, calling me Little Loser Lila, until the nickname stuck like gum on my soul. But their weddings? Those were the final blows. Ethan's beachside ceremony, Mia's lavish vineyard affair, Lucas's intimate mountain retreat. Each one came with an excuse why I wasn't wanted. "You'd just make it weird," Mia had said once, her voice dripping with condescension. "You don't fit, Lila." I'd spent years rebuilding myself, piecing together a life of small victories, a cozy apartment, a job as a graphic designer, a few close friends who felt more like family than my blood ever did. But that letter from Mia, barring me from her second wedding, ripped open old wounds. I wasn't just uninvited, I was erased. The memories flooded back. Ethan laughing as he tore up my sketchbook at 16, Lucas locking me out of the house during a rainstorm, Mia whispering to her friends that I was the weird one. I'd always hoped they'd change, that one day they'd see me. But that letter proved they never would. I tossed it into the trash, my hands shaking with a mix of rage and resolve. I was done begging for their love. 2 years later, when I stood in front of my fiancé, James, planning our own wedding, I made a choice. My siblings wouldn't be invited. Not a single one. This was my day, my joy, and I wouldn't let their shadows dim it. James, with his warm brown eyes and steady hand, had been my anchor through the pain. We met at a local art gallery, where my designs were displayed for the first time. He saw me, really saw me, when I felt invisible. "You're enough, Lila," he'd said that night, and for the first time, I believed it. Our wedding was going to be a celebration of us, of the family we were building, not the one I'd lost. But as I mailed out invitations, a tiny voice nagged at me. Was I sinking to their level? Was this revenge, or was it justice? I pushed the thought aside, focusing on the details: white roses, golden lights, a small venue by the lake. My heart swelled imagining the day, but a part of me braced for the fallout. I knew my siblings would find out, and when they did, I wasn't prepared for how far they'd go to ruin it. The first hint of trouble came a month before the wedding. My phone buzzed with a text from Ethan, the first in years. "Heard you're getting married. No invite. Classy, Lila." The words stung, but I didn't respond. Then Mia called, her voice syrupy sweet, but laced with venom. "You're really doing this? Cutting us out? You're pathetic." Lucas didn't bother with words. He sent a photo of himself burning an old family picture of us as kids, with me cropped out. I should have known they wouldn't let it go. They'd always hated losing control, and my silence was a rebellion they couldn't stand. But I had no idea how far their cruelty would stretch, or how it would force me to confront not just them, but myself. As the wedding drew closer, I threw myself into the plans, determined to keep their poison at bay. James and I spent evenings designing our vows, laughing over cake samples, and dreaming of a future free from their shadows. But late at night, when he slept, I'd lie awake, haunted by their words. "You don't fit, Lila." I wondered if I was strong enough to face what was coming. Because something was coming. I could feel it in the air, like the static before a storm. My siblings weren't done with me yet. And when they struck, it would test everything: my love, my strength, and the family I was fighting to create. The weeks before the wedding blurred into a whirlwind of joy and dread. James and I finalized the guest list, choosing only those who'd lifted us up: friends, his parents, my mentor from art school. But every ding of my phone sent my heart racing, expecting another barb from my siblings. They didn't disappoint. Ethan's texts grew sharper, accusing me of playing the victim to guilt them. Mia left voicemails, her tone mocking. "You think you're better than us now, huh?" Lucas, always the quietest, sent cryptic messages, links to old photos where I looked small and out of place, with captions like, "Know your place." I tried to shield James from it, but he noticed the tension in my eyes. One evening, as we folded napkins for the reception, he took my hand. "Lila, talk to me. What's going on?" I broke down, spilling years of hurt. The nicknames, the exclusions, the way my siblings made me feel like a stranger in my own family. He listened, his jaw tight, then pulled me close. "They don't get to define you. We're building something new." His words were a lifeline, but the storm was closing in. 2 weeks before the wedding, it hit. I got a call from the venue, a small lakeside lodge we'd booked for its charm. The manager's voice trembled. "Miss Carter, I'm so sorry, but we've had a complaint. Someone reported a safety violation, and we're under investigation. We may have to cancel your event." My stomach dropped. "Who reported it?" I asked, already knowing the answer. She hesitated. "They were anonymous, but they claimed to be family." I hung up, fury boiling in my chest. This wasn't just cruelty, it was sabotage. I called Ethan, my voice steady despite the rage. "What did you do?" He laughed, cold and sharp. "You think you can cut us out and get your fairy tale? Good luck, Lila." Mia and Lucas denied involvement, but their smug silences told me everything. They'd banded together, as always, to tear me down. James and I scrambled to save the wedding. We found a new venue, a rustic barn an hour away, but the damage was done. Invitations had to be resent, vendors rebooked, and my nerves frayed with every step. I wanted to scream, to confront them, but James urged me to focus on us. "They want you to break," he said. "Don't give them that." But breaking felt closer than ever. Late one night, I found an email from Mia, forwarded to my entire guest list. It was a childhood diary entry I'd written at 13, full of raw, embarrassing thoughts about feeling unloved. "This is who Lila really is," she'd written. "Don't be fooled by her act." Humiliation burned through me. Friends called, concerned but confused. I wanted to disappear, but James stood firm. "They're trying to shame you. Don't let them win." I deleted the email, blocked their numbers, and poured my energy into the wedding. But the sabotage didn't stop. Our caterer backed out, citing a scheduling conflict I suspected wasn't real. Decorations we'd ordered arrived damaged, with no explanation. Each blow felt personal, a reminder of their power to hurt me. Yet, with every setback, something else grew, my resolve. I wasn't the scared girl they'd mocked anymore. As the wedding day neared, I felt a shift. This wasn't just about me. It was about the life I was choosing. James, my friends, the family I'd built, they were my strength. But I couldn't shake the fear that my siblings would show up, uninvited, to ruin it all. I hired security, a precaution that felt both necessary and heartbreaking. The night before the wedding, I sat alone, staring at an old family photo. We were kids, smiling, before the rift grew too wide. A part of me still loved them, despite everything. But love didn't mean letting them hurt me. I tore the photo in half, letting the pieces fall. Tomorrow was mine, and no one, not Ethan, not Mia, not Lucas, would take it away. The morning of the wedding dawned bright, the barn glowing under a golden September sun. I stood in front of a mirror, my white dress soft against my skin, my heart a tangle of nerves and hope. James's voice echoed in my mind. "You're enough, Lila." But as I pinned a rose in my hair, I couldn't shake the dread that my siblings were plotting one final blow. The new venue was perfect, wooden beams strung with fairy lights, tables adorned with wildflowers, a lake sparkling in the distance. Guests arrived, their smiles warming the air. My best friend, Sarah, squeezed my hand. "You look radiant," she whispered. I wanted to believe her, but my eyes kept darting to the entrance, expecting trouble. The ceremony began, and James stood at the altar, his grin steadying me. As I walked down the aisle, the world narrowed to him, his kind eyes, his outstretched hand. For a moment, I forgot my siblings, their cruelty, their schemes. I forgot the pain of being uninvited, mocked, erased. I was here, loved, and that was enough. We exchanged vows, our voices trembling with emotion. "I choose you, Lila," James said. "For every moment, every fight, every joy." Tears blurred my vision as I promised to choose him back, to build a life free from the shadows of my past. The officiant pronounced us married, and the crowd cheered, but a sharp sound cut through the joy, a car screeching into the gravel lot outside. My heart sank. Security moved quickly, but not before I saw them. Ethan, Mia, and Lucas stepping out of a black SUV. They hadn't been invited, yet here they were, dressed in formal attire as if they belonged. Ethan's smirk was visible even from a distance, Mia's arms crossed defiantly, Lucas's eyes cold and unreadable. I froze, my hand gripping James's. "Stay here," he murmured, but I shook my head. This was my fight. I walked toward them, my dress trailing in the grass, guests whispering behind me. Security blocked their path, but Ethan's voice carried. "You really thought you could cut us out, Lila? We're family. Family doesn't do this." I shot back, my voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. "You mocked me, banned me, tried to ruin this day. You're not welcome here." Mia laughed, sharp and cruel. "You're pathetic, Lila. Always playing the victim. You think this wedding makes you special?" Lucas said nothing, but his silence was louder than her words. Ethan stepped closer, ignoring security. "You'll regret this," he hissed. "We'll make sure everyone knows who you really are." Their threat hung in the air, but something inside me snapped. Years of their cruelty flashed before me. The nicknames, the exclusions, the diary they'd exposed. I straightened, my voice rising. "I know who I am, and it's not the girl you tried to break. Leave. Now." Security escorted them away, their protests fading into the distance. The guests watched, some shocked, some supportive. I turned back to James, his arms open, and collapsed into them. "I'm so proud of you," he whispered. The music started again, and we danced, the weight of their presence lifting with every step. But the victory felt fragile. I knew my siblings too well. They didn't lose gracefully. As we cut the cake, laughter filling the barn, I caught Sarah's eye. She'd overheard Ethan muttering about making me pay as he left. My heart raced, but I smiled for James, for our guests, for the life we were starting. That night, as we drove to our honeymoon cabin, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. My siblings had crossed a line, but so had I. And whatever came next, I'd face it. Not as little loser Lila, but as a woman who'd finally found her strength. The honeymoon was a blur of love and light. James and I tucked away in a mountain cabin, laughing over burnt pancakes, dancing under starlit skies. But even there, my siblings' shadows lingered. I'd silenced my phone, but when I checked it on the third day, a flood of notifications awaited. Mia had posted online, a vicious thread accusing me of destroying our family by excluding them. Ethan shared it, adding his own spin. "Lila's always been selfish. Don't be fooled by her wedding glow." Lucas, true to form, stayed silent but liked every comment tearing me down. Their words cut deeper than I expected. Strangers online chimed in, judging me without knowing the years of pain behind my choice. I wanted to scream the truth, how they'd mocked me, banned me, sabotaged me, but James stopped me. "You don't owe them an explanation," he said, his hand warm on mine. "Live your life. Let them stew." I tried. We returned home, settling into our new life as a married couple. I threw myself into work, designing logos for a local startup, while James started his new job at an engineering firm. But the attacks didn't stop. Mia sent packages to our apartment, old childhood toys, marked with cruel notes. "Remember when you were nothing?" Ethan called my workplace, posing as a client to spread lies about my unprofessionalism. Lucas hacked into my social media, posting humiliating throwback photos from my awkward teen years. Each blow tested my resolve. I wanted to fight back, to expose their cruelty, but James urged restraint. "They're desperate," he said. "You're happy, and it's killing them." His faith in me was unshakable, but I felt the cracks forming. Late at night, I'd scroll through their posts, their words echoing old insecurities. "You don't fit, Lila." Then came the letter, not from my siblings, but from our mother. She'd stayed out of our feud for years, a silent bystander to their cruelty. Her handwriting was shaky, her words careful. "Lila, I know things have been hard, but family is family. Please, talk to them. They're hurting too." Hurting? The idea made me laugh, then cry. They weren't hurting, they were vengeful. But her letter stirred something I'd buried. Guilt. Had I been too harsh? Should I have invited them, given them one last chance? I showed James the letter, expecting him to dismiss it, but he surprised me. Maybe you should meet them, he said. Not for them, but for you. To close this chapter. I resisted, but the idea took root. A week later, I arranged a meeting at a neutral coffee shop, just me and my siblings. No James, no friends, no safety net. I wanted answers, not apologies, but clarity. Why did they hate me so much? What had I ever done to deserve this? The meeting was a disaster from the start. Ethan arrived late, smirking. Mia rolled her eyes when I spoke. Lucas stared at his phone, barely acknowledging me. I laid out everything. Their mockery, their sabotage, their cruelty. Why? I asked, my voice breaking. Why do you hate me? Mia laughed, cold and sharp. Hate you? Lila, you're just irrelevant. You always have been. Ethan leaned forward, his eyes hard. You think you're above us now, with your perfect little life. We're just reminding you who you are. Lucas finally spoke, his voice low. You never belonged with us. You know that. Their words were a punch to the gut, but they also set me free. They didn't hate me, they envied me. My happiness, my strength, my ability to move on without them. I stood, leaving my coffee untouched. I'm done, I said. You're not my family anymore. As I walked away, their stunned silence was louder than any apology. But the war wasn't over. They'd escalate, and I'd have to be ready. Walking away from that coffee shop felt like shedding a skin I'd outgrown. For the first time, I saw my siblings clearly, not as powerful tormentors, but as small, broken people clinging to their resentment. But clarity didn't mean peace. Their attacks intensified, as if my rejection had lit a fuse. Ethan started a smear campaign, emailing my clients with lies about missed deadlines and shoddy work. One client dropped me, citing concerns about reliability. Mia took to social media again, posting doctored photos of me at my lowest. Braces, bad hair, tearful eyes, with captions calling me a fraud. Lucas, ever the silent weapon, hacked my portfolio site, replacing my designs with crude doodles and a message, Lila Carter, the fake artist. The betrayal stung, but the damage was real. My income dipped, my confidence wavered. James was my rock, helping me rebuild my site and reassuring clients. But I could see the toll it took on him. We'll get through this, he promised, but I hated that my family's venom was poisoning our new life. I considered legal action, a restraining order, maybe a lawsuit, but my lawyer warned it could drag on for years. Instead, I focused on protecting what mattered. I tightened my online security, warned my clients about the lies, and leaned on my friends for support. Sarah, my maid of honor, organized a campaign of her own, sharing testimonials about my work to counter their attacks. Slowly, the tide turned. Clients returned, and my reputation held. But the emotional scars lingered. One night, I found an old sketchbook from my teens, filled with drawings I'd hidden from my siblings' mockery. Flipping through it, I saw not just pain, but resilience. I'd kept creating, despite them. That realization sparked an idea, a project that would turn my pain into something beautiful. I started working on a graphic novel, a story about a girl breaking free from a toxic family. Each panel was a piece of me, my hurt, my hope, my triumph. I poured hours into it, sketching late into the night, James bringing me coffee and quiet encouragement. This is your story, he said. Tell it. As the novel took shape, I felt stronger, but my siblings weren't done. A month after the coffee shop, I got a call from my mother. They're planning something big, she said, her voice heavy with guilt. I don't know what, but they're angry, Lila. Be careful. Her warning chilled me. I hired a private investigator, a precaution that felt extreme but necessary. He uncovered their plan. They were pooling money to sue me, claiming I'd defamed them by cutting them out and lying about their behavior. The lawsuit was baseless, my lawyer assured me, but it was designed to drain me, financially, emotionally, mentally. I was furious, but also exhausted. Part of me wanted to give in, to beg them to stop, but I remembered James's words. They want you to break. I wouldn't. Instead, I doubled down on my novel, using it to process the pain. Each page was a step toward freedom, a way to reclaim my voice. The lawsuit loomed, but so did my deadline to submit the novel to a publisher. I worked tirelessly, balancing fear and creativity. One night, as I sketched a scene of the girl confronting her family, I realized something. I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for every person who'd been made to feel small, unworthy, unloved. The day I sent the manuscript off, I felt a weight lift. Whatever my siblings did next, I was ready. I'd found my purpose, and they couldn't take that away. The lawsuit hit like a tidal wave. Papers served to our doorstep on a rainy Tuesday. Ethan, Mia, and Lucas claimed I'd slandered them by sharing my story with friends and clients, demanding thousands in damages. It was absurd, but the legal fees alone were a gut punch. James and I sat at our kitchen table, staring at the documents, my hands shaking. "We'll fight this," he said, his voice firm. "They don't get to win." My lawyer, a sharp woman named Rachel, agreed the case was weak, but warned it could drag on. "They're banking on you settling," she said. "They want to bleed you dry." I refused to back down, but the stress was crushing. Work slowed as I spent hours with Rachel, gathering evidence, texts, emails, screenshots of their attacks. Each one was a reminder of their cruelty, but also my strength. I'd survived them before. I would again. Meanwhile, my graphic novel gained traction. A small publisher, moved by the sample chapters, offered a contract. They loved the raw emotion, the story of a girl rising above her family's betrayal. Signing the deal felt like a victory, but it was bittersweet. My siblings' lawsuit cast a shadow over everything, their hatred a constant weight. Then came a breakthrough. My investigator uncovered proof that Lucas had hacked my site, tracing the IP address to his apartment. It was enough to file a counterclaim for cyber harassment. Rachel was thrilled. "This changes everything," she said. "We can turn their own tactics against them." The counterclaim shifted the dynamic. Ethan and Mia backed off slightly, their online attacks slowing, but Lucas doubled down, sending me an anonymous email. "You'll pay for this, Lila." I forwarded it to Rachel, my fear hardening into resolve. I wasn't just fighting for me anymore. I was fighting for the life I'd built, for James, for the girl in my novel who refused to be broken. As the legal battle heated up, I threw myself into the novel's final edits. Each chapter was a piece of my heart, a testament to survival. Friends rallied around me, hosting a small launch party when the publisher set a release date. Sarah toasted to my courage, her eyes shining. "You're unstoppable, Lila," she said. I wanted to believe her, but the lawsuit loomed, a storm cloud ready to burst. Then, a week before the court date, my mother called again. "They're falling apart," she said, her voice strained. "Ethan's marriage is crumbling. Mia's lost her job. Lucas is isolating himself. They're angry, Lila, but they're also scared." I should have felt vindicated, but instead, I felt a pang of sadness. They were still my siblings, broken as they were. I wrote them a letter, not to beg, but to release. "I forgive you," I wrote, "not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. This is the last you'll hear from me." I mailed it, then blocked their numbers for good. The court date arrived, and Rachel was a force, presenting evidence of their harassment with surgical precision. The judge dismissed their lawsuit, citing lack of merit, and our counterclaim moved forward. It wasn't a full victory yet, but it was close. As we left the courtroom, James squeezed my hand. "You did it," he whispered. That night, I finished the final panel of my novel, a girl standing tall, her family's shadows fading behind her. I dedicated it to James, to my friends, to everyone who'd helped me rise. My siblings had tried to destroy me, but they'd only made me stronger. The novel's release was a month away, and with it, a chance to share my truth. But I knew the fight wasn't over. My siblings would never stop, not entirely. And I'd be ready. The release of my graphic novel, Unbound, was a quiet triumph. The small bookstore hosting the launch was packed with friends, clients, and strangers who'd heard about my story. I stood at the podium, my voice steady as I read a passage about the girl's final stand against her family. The crowd's applause felt like a warm embrace, but my eyes kept scanning for faces that weren't there. Ethan, Mia, Lucas. I'd mailed them copies of the book, not out of spite, but as a final act of closure. They hadn't responded. The novel sold modestly at first, but reviews called it raw and inspiring, and soon, local papers wanted interviews. I shared my truth carefully, focusing on resilience, not revenge. It's about choosing yourself, I told one reporter. Even when the people who should love you don't. The attention was overwhelming but empowering. Each sale, each reader's email, felt like a brick in the foundation of my new life. The legal battle ended in our favor. The counterclaim forced Lucas to pay a fine for the hacking, and Ethan and Mia dropped their harassment, likely scared of further consequences. Rachel called it a clean win, but it didn't feel clean. It felt heavy, like a chapter I'd never wanted to write. My mother reached out once more, asking to meet, but I declined. I need time, I wrote. Maybe one day, but not now. James and I settled into a rhythm, our marriage stronger for the trials we'd faced. He framed the novel's cover, hanging it above our fireplace. "This is you," he said, pointing to the girl on the cover, her eyes fierce and free. I smiled, but the scars remained. I'd won, but at a cost. Family ties severed, trust broken. Months later, a letter arrived, not from my siblings, but from a reader. A young woman, 16, wrote about her own toxic family, how Unbound gave her hope to keep going. "You showed me I'm not alone," she wrote. Tears fell as I read it, and I realized this was why I'd fought, not just for me, but for her, for anyone who'd been made to feel small. I started speaking at local events, sharing my story to small crowds of survivors, artists, dreamers. Each talk healed a piece of me, turning pain into purpose. My siblings faded into the background, their lives unraveling while mine bloomed. Ethan's divorce hit the gossip mill. Mia moved away, her social media silent. Lucas retreated into solitude. I didn't gloat. I just kept moving forward. One spring evening, James and I sat by the lake where we'd planned to wed, the barn venue now a distant memory. "Do you regret it?" he asked, his voice soft. Not inviting them. I thought of their faces at the wedding, their anger, their exclusion. I thought of the girl I'd been, desperate for their love, and the woman I'd become, free without it. "No," I said, leaning into him. "I chose us. I chose me." The sun set, painting the water gold. My siblings had mocked me, banned me, tried to break me. But I'd built something better, a life, a love, a legacy. Unbound wasn't just a book. It was my truth, my triumph. And no one, not even family, could take that away. As we walked home, I felt lighter than ever. The storm was over. The future was mine.